It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to the Talk Center. This segment of the Talk Center, we're going to carry forward with financial crisis management, and we're going to talk about how bankruptcy becomes one of the tools of financial crisis management. It's important to understand that there's various tools that you can employ in order to figure out the best method of eliminating or minimizing debt so that you can go forward and start saving the money and putting cash in the bank. David Einstandig is with me from Thav Gross. Brian Small is with me from Thav Gross. We're going to kind of flush through some of these issues. Now, in the last segment, we kind of introduced financial crisis management, and we did it with an example of Dave with credit card debt, and we walked through using one tool of financial crisis management, debt resolution, as the means of getting rid of Dave's credit card debt. But that doesn't mean Dave might not be better off filing a bankruptcy or taking some other avenue to doing it. The rule is preserve future income for you and your family. By definition, that means come up with a strategy that is the least costly, fastest way of getting rid of the debt. Now, I want to give you just a little quick share with you how financial crisis management, as we call it, came into play. Because this is a term that we have coined. Other people may be copying it, but financial crisis management per se came out of Thav Gross, came out of us. And here's where it came from. We've been doing business law issues for 32 years and representing individuals in business. As that went on, we did bankruptcy to help solve business and individual problems. We did tax collection defense to solve problems.
We negotiated with mortgage companies and lenders and creditors
all those types
and
of
whatnot.
things. When the economy was melting down in 2008 and the auto execs flew on their private jets to Washington and the whole rest of the country decided to trash Detroit, and while that was happening, the whole country fell apart economically, we started the radio show for financial crisis management because shortly before that, we kind of had like a calling. And what had happened was people would come into the office and we'd say, and I'd talk to Brian and I'd say, were we able to help this person? And they'd say, well, they didn't meet the criteria for Chapter 7, they didn't meet the criteria for Chapter 13, and they didn't have a tax problem. So we said, so we couldn't come up with anything. And then we all put our heads together and said, this is not a good solution. We're lawyers. If someone walks into our office with a financial problem, if we can't solve that problem, then we shouldn't be lawyers. So instead of saying it's either bankruptcy or tax collection defense, we said we need to broaden the spectrum. And that's where we added debt resolution as a way of getting rid of debt if bankruptcy doesn't work. We already had tax collection defense. We already knew bankruptcy. We also, with the real estate market falling apart, we said short sales is a way of getting out of a house. Sometimes foreclosure is a way of getting out of a house. And we'll talk about that as the show goes on. In addition to that, loan modifications. And we saw all the opportunities that existed to do loan modifications. And the thing that Brian and I really dug into and really have gotten a kick out of over the last 5 years is when we combine these strategies together. Bankruptcy with a loan modification. Short selling with debt resolution, where we get the big bang for the dollar, where we solve all the problems using a couple of the different strategies. These are what we call the tools of financial crisis management.
And the foundation, Ken, is not that anything is that unique as far as that it didn't exist before. They were all right in front of our face for years. It wasn't the first time there was a short sale or a bankruptcy or a foreclosure or someone tried to resolve their credit card debts. But it's the ability to become the quarterback to be the chef and to make the stew and look at the ingredients and say, you want to know what? There's more than one play on the field right now. You got 2, 3, 4, 5 plays, and sometimes you got to audible. So what it boils down to is it's looking at it from a broad perspective, but being able to apply it as needed. That's financial crisis management. I have to add
one thing to that, and then I want to move on. And we're going to give a bankruptcy example. I'm putting a visual on the screen if you're watching the TV version of this, and it's a quarterback, and the number on the quarterback is 13. This is David's thing. If you ever come to one of our seminars, so David, why is the number 13 on the quarterback?
Because, Brian, it's not about
luck. It's not about luck. There's nothing to do with luck. It's all about figuring out the best play. And the quarterback calls the play.
Good job.
There you go.
All right, now there's 3 rules, and then we get to bankruptcy. And I mentioned them on the first show, and I alluded to them, but there's 3 rules. That's the theme, the building block of financial crisis management. Preserve future income for you and your family. Find the best mix of the strategies to accomplish the goal. And this was the example of Dave. Think long term. This isn't about getting to Friday so that we have the weekend to relax. That's important for all of us every single week on Monday. But this is about where am I going to be 10 years, 20 years from now? Because if you don't grasp onto the issues and take action and you just keep throwing your money away, paying for debt, paying 20% interest, you tread water and you get nowhere.
You'll have no choice. You will have no choice but to find a job to be able to feed yourself and to feed your wife or to feed your husband for the rest of your life, and then you're going to die. That's what's going to happen unless you look long-term and be able to say, you know what, I want to slow down or I don't want to work in my later years.
And then if you do that, you won't die? I want to make sure I understand.
You're still going to die, but you can die a heck of a lot happier.
You know, one of the things that is really...
And maybe you'll live longer because you won't be under so much stress because you're worried about being thrown out of your house when you're 68 years old.
That's what I was about to say. One of the things that's important when you're looking at this, when you look at the long-term plan, is you have to be willing to think differently about your situation, to think like a business, to think like what's best for me. And the quarterback of the situation is going to help you figure out what's the best plan to protect you and your family for your future.
Now, you have to figure out which quarterback you want. Do you want one who throws interceptions, or do you want one who leads the league in receptions? Those are the issues that we have. When we come back from the break, Brian's going to walk us through bankruptcy as the options. We'll be back after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. We're about to walk in and have Brian give us a little bit of a lesson on Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcy. Before we do that, I want to make a couple of announcements. Our websites, thavgross.com and financialcrisistalkcenter.com, have been adapted to smartphone technology. So even on your smartphones, you go through them, you can migrate through our websites. The Financial Crisis Talk Center one has the Resource Center. You should try and take advantage of the analyzer. It's absolutely free. You pop in your information. It really doesn't work on the smartphone. You really need a tablet or to be at a desktop to do it. But you put in your information. It generates you a report of what your options are. If you can, go to our website, become a Financial Crisis Talk Center member. We then put you on our email list. You get updates on breaking financial news. There's a newsletter, a little short news information spot once a week on Fridays. It's a worthwhile endeavor. Find us on Facebook, Financial, Legal, and CrisisTalkCenter.com. I want to thank our sponsors, Gold Star Law. They're employment law specialists, superb lawyers, very aggressive. If they are representing the employees, not the employers. Samasco Law, great elder law attorneys. Elite REO Services, Alan Stalter, short sales specialist. All right, now, bankruptcy. Here's, bankruptcy is a word that nobody signs up for the notion of saying, hey, you know what, I would really like to file bankruptcy this year. This is what I've always dreamed of doing. It's a situation of using a tool to solve a problem. But here's my take on it. When bankruptcy is right, it is the least expensive, most effective way to shed debt. But it's not always right for everyone because it doesn't always fit into the picture. But when it does, it's the best tool because it's cheaper than settling the credit card debt. It's much cheaper and it's faster. And if the rule is preserve future income for you and your family, you want the fastest, cheapest result to get rid of the debt so you can start saving the money. So when we analyze a situation for a client, we're looking, is bankruptcy one of their alternatives? If it's not, then we might go back to Dave and put him into debt resolution.
And Ken, you have to keep in mind that when we're looking at it, exactly what you said, we're looking to see which method or which strategy is best. But I'll tell you, we've seen this time and time again, that when they go and they only go to an outfit that can only sell the client or provide bankruptcy, they're going to put a round hole in a square peg.
Absolutely, no question about it. So, Brian,
or square peg in a round
everyone
hole.
knows about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but I want you to give us a lesson in it. I want you to tell us. First, tell me, what is Chapter 7, what is Chapter 13?
Right.
You're the expert. We're listening to you.
There are two types of consumer bankruptcy that are available to individuals. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Chapter 7 is your traditional debt elimination bankruptcy. Wipe out your debts, get a fresh start, keep most, if not all, of the assets that you own, and eliminate the debt that you owe. In order to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, we use a basic premise. Does it cost you exactly or more to live, eat, and sleep than you are bringing home? So is your net income, if you take your net income, do you spend that net income on your household expenses, your mortgage or your rent, your groceries, your electric and gas? Is there nothing left over to pay the bills with?
So if I'm negative every month, you're saying that's good from the standpoint of a Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
If you're negative, you're probably going to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
But what if I make $150,000 a year?
Well, there's where a standard comes in called the means test. The government has put together this set of standards that you must pass and this test that you must pass. It is unlikely that a household, even of 4, making $150,000 a year is going to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy because the government says you make too much money.
So what's the alternative?
Well, the alternative is therefore the other option in bankruptcy, which is Chapter 13.
All right, before you go to Chapter 13, I just want to get a couple things out here on Chapter 7. If you qualify for a Chapter 7, you usually get to keep the property you have as long as you don't have more than $12,000 of cash.
You get
right?
stuff called exemptions. Exemptions under the federal exemptions include approximately $22,500 equity per person in your home.
Which very few people have these days.
And if you don't have equity, you can keep up to $12,750 worth of cash or the equivalent.
Okay. And then when you get through the 7...
Plus, you get to keep up to $12,250 worth of furniture and furnishings.
If you owe Art Van and Bank of America and all these credit card companies, they're gone. All of that debt, hospital bills, gone.
Absolutely correct.
What
Personal
about taxes?
liability is what we
call
discharge.
Income taxes?
Income taxes are also dischargeable, but it takes a plan to make sure that you get there. You can't walk in owing the government $13,000 for the year ending 2013 and say tomorrow, Brian, can I discharge these in bankruptcy? Because the answer is no.
Otherwise, everybody would be filing bankruptcy.
The individual income taxes are dischargeable generally if they came due more than 3 years ago, were filed for at least 2 years, and haven't been assessed in the last 240 days.
And I know there's some other exceptions to it that you're going to mention, but what's interesting is most people don't even think income taxes are dischargeable at all in bankruptcy.
What's scary is if you go see 99 out of 100 bankruptcy attorneys in the city, to be quite honest, they don't even know that taxes are dischargeable.
Now, flipping back to David, and then we go to Chapter 13. When you talk about quarterback, when someone comes into us with tax problems, the first thing we do is we analyze, are any of them dischargeable in bankruptcy before we start thinking about whether we want to deal with IRS to solve the tax problem? Because if we can discharge them in bankruptcy, that's a great outcome. That's the key of using a quarterback who knows not only how to handle the tax problem, but knows bankruptcy. Now,
hold on, Brian,
we don't meet
wait a minute. I have to ask one question. Got to ask this one question. What if I had a $300,000 debt from my business that I guaranteed? What happens to that?
Well, again, your personal responsibility, if you qualify for a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13, at the end of either case, your personal responsibility to pay the ongoing debt associated with that business debt is eliminated. Your business may still owe the debt,
but your guarantee is off the hook.
But your guarantee is off the hook.
Okay, now, so Chapter 7 is great because it discharges the debt. If you have a mortgage, you still have to pay the mortgage or you would lose the house. But let's say you make too much money, you don't pass the means test, which means you have in the government's mind too much means, so you have to pay some of the debt back. Now your next option is whether you can fit within a Chapter 13. So when we come back from the break, I want you to explain to us what a 13 is and what the benefits and the peculiarities of that are so that we understand it. We'll be back after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
Are you struggling to pay your mortgage? Afraid of foreclosure and the financial mess it can cause? Time is not on your side. Call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist. For years, Alan has been helping distressed homeowners navigate through the short sale process. His experience will get you out of your home without the credit score damage that follows foreclosure. If you want a fresh start, you need to call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist, 248-854-3829 or MetroDetroitShortSale.com.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
An important message if you're planning to file for Social Security disability.
The biggest problem I see is people don't go to an attorney until after the claim for disability is denied. You need to get it right the first time.
Before you file for Social Security disability, call Thav Gross.
We do the homework to make sure the claim is properly presented so that you get the benefits you deserve.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Call today.
Hi, welcome back. Quick announcements. This is events time because we have events coming up. We've got seminar coming up shortly in Bingham Farms. Actually, there's one coming up. If you're listening to this show, not watching it on TV, there was one on March 26th, and we've talked about it in the earlier segments of the show. But we've got future seminars coming up that I want to emphasize. It's called Don't Be Afraid to Eliminate Debt. One in Bingham Farms on April 30th from 7 to 8:30, and another one in Lansing for our Lansing market. It's at the Downtown Public Library. It's Wednesday, May 7th, 6:30 to 8. Seminars walk through all these issues in financial crisis management. We'll talk about it more on other shows. We have a special VA seminar coming up because there are veterans benefits for elder people that can help assist when you're in, it's not a financial hardship, it's when you have a care issue, if you need assisted care. It's more than just senior living, but if it's assisted care, you can get up to $1,700 a month in benefits, and vets don't know about it. Pat Simasco from Simasco Law is going to join us for a seminar exploring these options. There are two dates, Wednesday, April 30th from 6:30 to 8 p.m., and Tuesday, May 13th at the
April 16th.
Wednesday, April 16th is at the Royal Oak Public Library, and on Tuesday, May 13th, at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial.
You talked about options in the first segment, first scenario. We talked about the option when you were even and your income matched your outlay and you had no money to pay bills. And then, Brian, we were getting to what if you do have some money to pay bills under the government formula? What happens then?
Right. Well, and let me just clarify that, because I see where you're going, but where we were is you're talking about Chapter 13 bankruptcy because we ruled out Chapter 7. So walk us through Chapter 13 in light of what David just said.
All right. As we review, Chapter 7 is debt elimination bankruptcy, wipe out your debts and get a fresh start. Chapter 13 bankruptcy is structured reorganization. It's otherwise known as the wage earners plan. As long as you have a regular source of income, you might qualify for a Chapter 13. What it does is restructure your debt and allow you to repay some or all of your creditors over a 3 to 5 year period of time at a level you can afford. Now, what that turns out to be is we classify different types of creditors differently, and some of your creditors, the most important ones, get paid first, and the least important ones, such as your credit card debt, your hospital bills, the ones that nag you and pull you down and charge you 25% interest, get zero or as little as zero. So we can manipulate your situation to allow you to use Chapter 13 to do things like catch up on an arrearage on your home.
This would be to stop foreclosure?
Stop a foreclosure. You've fallen behind on your house because you were seeking a loan modification independently and you didn't understand that you better store some money in the bank if they denied you. And you can't write the check to become current because the loan modification that took 14 months to be denied, now you're $12,000 behind on your house.
So what do you have to do?
You file a Chapter 13.
When?
Before the foreclosure sale date.
That's critical.
It is absolutely essential because you can't undo a foreclosure sale with a Chapter 13 after it's already been sold.
But you can stop it
What about the other creditors?
Well, Let's just take a look at the house first. If you've fallen behind on your house, your bank is saying, write us a check right now. And you say, I don't have the money. What it allows you to do is catch up your house over 60 months, shoving it down the bank's throat effectively, because they're the one that put you in that position most likely in the first place. So we take what you have left over in your budget, whether it's $200 or $500 or $1,000, depends on your income and expenses, and instead of having to write a check to catch yourself up immediately, you can spread that arrearage out over 5 years.
And then what about the rest of your creditors?
Rest of your creditors, again, we look at what's left. The most important creditor is the mortgage, then maybe the car, and then the IRS, because they have what's called priority debt, and they might get paid in full over a 5-year stretch.
What about the credit card companies?
They could get paid as little as zero.
What about the debt to the doctors and the hospitals and all that?
Again,
Same
zero.
as credit
What if they don't like that?
Well, I don't care what the credit card companies say. That's the beauty of Chapter 13. We don't ask them. We force it down their throats.
I want to get another important one in Chapter 13. What is a lien strip?
Lien strip. If you have a second mortgage, and that second mortgage doesn't attach to any equity, any brick and mortar.
Your first mortgage is greater than the fair market value of the home.
Exactly. We have the ability to do something called lien stripping. We file an adversary lawsuit within the bankruptcy against the mortgage lender, claiming that they have no equity that their loan attaches to, and we strip it off. We pull it off.
It becomes the same as an unsecured credit card debt, like a credit card debt.
Exactly. And at the end of your Chapter 13 plan, you don't owe your credit cards any more money. You don't owe your hospital bills any more money, and you don't owe your second mortgage any more money.
Now I want to add two things out there in the last minute that we have. One is, you might even in that Chapter 13 be able to apply for a loan modification and reduce the payment. And we're going to talk in later shows about when you qualify for a loan modification and when you don't. So you could actually lower your mortgage payment in the Chapter 13. You also could do that in the context of Chapter 7. But here's the big question of the quarterback. When we analyze the situation, we look and say, how much will you pay back to the creditors in the Chapter 13? And if the answer is more than in the Chapter 13 than you would do in debt resolution, then we might do debt resolution. It's all about evaluating all the options to determine what is the best play to shed debt the fastest way so you preserve future income for you and your family.
So if it costs me nothing to find out my options, what do I have to lose?
It costs you have nothing to lose. You have your future to lose if you don't explore your options. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the Financial Crisis Talk Center.